reference.
Thanks for that. This is a call about improving our pricing page, one of the most visited pages on the GitLab website.
That's right. So we have quite a few dones in our agenda, which we're pretty happy about. So we productized, jumping into point 1A, Danielle, who's not on the call, asked, marketing has a key result around pricing page flow and Alliance Marketplace CTAs. So I just wanted to call out, I added a link. This is in our plan. I pasted the plan below in 1A here and gave you the status update. So taking, Sid, what you had sent us over in the iterations doc, we've pulled in everything some other people are asking us for and kind of slated it in the order that makes sense for us for how we can get things out quickest. So I wanted to give an update on what's done and then give you visibility into our plan to see if that aligned with how you'd like to see it done. So we productized the last winning A/B test. We are finished adding the talk to an expert call out. That's the, I can share my screen since we're doing this. I'm in the test here live. So that's this area down here, talk to an expert. So that's giving people the immediate kind of ejection seat who are not necessarily planning on buying through the pricing page, but want to have some support. We have your iteration 2 done. It's testing. It's way too early to talk about, but I'm seeing positive results. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Sindhu. I added in.
What's the p-value for the test, Michael?
Go ahead. What was that again?
What's the p-value for the A/B test?
I'm not familiar how to answer that.
So
it's the significance value, Michael.
For how long we're going to run it?
Yeah, normally what you can do 2 things. You can run it for a certain time, or you can run it until you're certain it's better than the old one. And then it's kind of a waste to keep running the experiment because you're already kind of sure. So the last time, the previous to last thing, we ran until the p-value was 0.00001. So we kind of ran it too long. I think normally you'd run it until 0.05 or something like that. So I wonder what the p-value is today, because I think if we have something that's an improvement, it's kind of a waste to keep running it beyond significance.
Let me share my screen, and then Sindhu helped me with a testing plan, which is awesome. So sorry for the erratic scrolling here. So this is LaunchDarkly. We don't have a p-value yet coming in.
Yeah, so Sid, the thing is that the way we wrote the measurement plan is we have to decide upfront what the period of time for test running is going to be. Because if we keep peaking in between to find out p-value, it's called peaking, and our error rate basically increases by about 40%, right? So the way we set this up is to say at 80% statistical power and 95% confidence, here is the expected lift. And I think we are expecting about a 10% lift, and that gave us about a 3-week time frame. And because we expect monthly seasonality in our business, we said we'll run it for 4 weeks so that we get like the test to run over about a month, right? So that's how we set it up.
Yep. Go ahead.
Okay.
So I agree, you cannot be peaking the entire time. I do think that the last time we did 1 peak, and it was like, the significance was like 4 orders of magnitude more than we needed. So I agree that if you peak an unlimited number of times, then that influences the significance, or there's something going on there. I agree, but last time I think it was very warranted to end it early. And what I don't understand here, where the 10% is coming from, because I think that first iteration had a big effect as we expected, as we went from features to themes. I'm not sure we'll have a 10% uplift this time.
So like, I think if you open up the measurement plan, it kind of gives you the needed sample size, because you need to be measuring 2 things, right? You need to be measuring the p-value, the significance level, and you need to be measuring statistical power. The test needs to be powered enough. So when we ran it, like it was almost like, hey, what's a decent lift we can have based on the current sample size we have on the pricing page. So the pricing page, I think, gets about like 80,000 visitors or so. We're looking for a sample size of about 60,000 here. And like that's about 3 weeks we're expecting. So we said 4 weeks. Does that help?
I think the improvement will not be this big. So I support us testing this. I think the reason we're testing is not so much because we expect a 10% uplift. I think we don't want to make it worse. So if we do something that makes it worse, that's really bad.
Yeah, so we're willing to live with flat results, and that's something
Exactly.
that we can report out, yes. But just as a rule of thumb, I think like this is kind of the best practice of doing A/B tests. So if you're listening to other tests where they're not testing for statistical power, where they're not deciding on the time frame upfront, then that's basically, you know, like there's room for improvement, I guess.
I think two things.
Yeah.
You can decide on peaking beforehand. So if you decide on it beforehand, it's okay. And I think we should have decided on it beforehand. I think then it would have been okay. So
the thing is that even if we peaked beforehand, we would need like a bigger uplift, right? Like so peaking is fine, but you also need to wait for the sample size to collect.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. I was talking about the last A/B test mostly, where we kept running an experiment that was clearly already succeeded.
Got it.
So, and I think for future tests, I would recommend, I'm not sure how long they are. If they are 2 weeks, I would allow for a peak, a 1 week in, and see what we do based on that.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay.
And then, I like that call out instead of deciding in advance. Because you're right, like a lot of what we're doing here is just ensuring it's more a do no harm scenario, because these aren't really big changes. Whereas I think this is, what I'm still interested in is this determination of success. Like if we did run this, the value is being able to associate the time that our design and engineering team put in versus the positive uplift. But that's a secondary metric that we can get value from. So yeah, I'm hearing you on the do no harm versus big change.
Yeah, it's mostly do not harm. I see this as finishing what we started last time with converting it to themes. And I think there's some common sense things that we're trying to do. Now, common sense doesn't always mean that that it might not backfire. So I support testing it to see whether it's worse. But I think at our scale, we're unlikely to see like the 10% uplift. Are you going to see a 10% uplift because you changed a bullet or something like that? Probably not. Is it the right thing to do? Yeah. Like if we ask 10 reasonable people which one is better, they will all say the same. 9 out of 10 will say the same thing. So it's probably the right change, and probably we cannot test that at our scale. And that's fine too, as long as we test whether we did something really wrong.
Yeah, we get that. So maybe like we should just reword the success to be, hey, if it's flat, or if it basically it's non-negative.
Exactly. And in fact, for iteration 3, we're going to see a worse result, and we're still probably going to do it, but we got to decide up front how much worse it can be, because we're going to test having links that take you away from the pricing page. And just because of, it might lead to more orders for GitLab, but the way we measure it, it's always going to show that it got worse. So, but again, let's talk about it up front. And this test, consider changing it to not unexpected uplift, but I'll leave that to the team.
Yeah,
that's clear. Thanks, Ed. After the measurement plan link, I just wanted to make sure to call out Josh Lambert for jumping in. He was doing CEO Shadow and also helped out connecting the themes YML file with this page. That was a huge help. We wouldn't have got there without him, and that was very, very unknown that he was working on that. So it was a very happy surprise. So thanks, Josh.
Thanks for calling that out. I passed that along, Michael.
Oh, great. Thanks, Scott. Have another done. So messaging around credit cards for the free pipelines, and then the content micro iteration. I'm actually not familiar with that one. So after this, what we'd like to do, and Sid, I'd love your feedback on this, is reversing the pricing tiers test. So that's one that's a little bit more aggressive than just content changes and some links. And we just thought it'd be nice we can get that done pretty quick and let that run. Adding the marketplace CTA. So that's a cross-functional commitment to marketing. So we'd like to get that off our list. Then we'd like to jump to your iteration 4 in the doc and then come back to iteration 3, just because we think it's going to take a little time to get all the right links to the docs. So instead of slowing us down, we can get iteration 4 done first and get some learning.
Okay, I'm still in iteration 2, and some things were marked done, but I don't understand what happened exactly. So if you look at the value-driven pricing page 3B, it says free forever features for individual users. And that got changed to free forever DevOps essentials for individual users. Can we?
I can answer that one. I asked to make a slight change for it so we could have kind of all 3 tiers have about the same amount of letters. So when they're responsive, they would kind of equal the same and we get the same kind of layout. So we made a little bit of a tweak to it just to have the layout be a little bit more. Yeah, so doesn't work perfectly, obviously.
What we want visually is for this tier is the biggest, it contains the most. We want it to look visually the biggest too. And because of this wording change, this now looks bigger than premium in the tagline. So I recommend we go back to the original proposal so that this goes back to 2 lines and it looks not bigger than premium.
Yeah.
Because it's the same amount of letters, but more lines than premium. And that I think that's not, it's not the effect we're going for. And then while we're at it, let's make it smaller now because of that, but I also think it would be good to have 1 item less. So let's remove the free forever features. I don't actually understand what that means. And I think it would help to make it kind of a visual slope from free to premium to ultimate, where ultimate is the biggest one.
Could we also remove, just to put pressure on that, could we remove 1 more bullet? If we remove that icon free forever features and then 1 bullet, just seeing three bullets, that really shortens things up. Is there any one that could be removed?
I think it's important that it's all stages. It's a more common misconception. Mm-hmm. Bring your own GitLab CI runners, I think is these 2 are debatable. But I think if we get rid of this one, there will be 4 bullets left. Mm-hmm. Here you have 5 bullets. So visually, I think then I'm good.
We're on the right path. Okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to push against that.
Yeah. Thanks for that.
One thing we might be able to do is on the free tier, the features are kind of all like sentence length a little bit. If we could get those down to a few words instead, like we do with Premium and Ultimate, that would prevent it from going down to that second line and making it expand, which is causing some of the issues.
Yeah, that's a great point. Oops, I'm sharing the wrong page, but let's talk about that. And I hope people are taking notes. So this is our biggest culprit, free static website with GitLab pages.
Sid, I think you're sharing the value-driven pricing.
Oh no, thank you. There we go. This should be better. Perfect. This we can make static websites with GitLab pages. I hope that it becomes 1 line if you remove free. I think that people get that it's free since it's already the name of the plan.
Yeah, good point.
And then if that doesn't break it into 1 line, you can say GitLab pages static website or something like that. Is that a sentence?
I like the first version.
See, we could just say static websites, because GitLab pages is actually how we achieve it. We probably don't need to call that out. So we could just say that either free static websites or just static websites.
Okay, so free is the only word that I think we totally don't need because this already says free. So drop the free, and then And then hopefully it becomes one line. If it doesn't become one line, do whatever is needed.
Could we say unlimited static websites?
I think websites already implies that you can have multiple.
Okay.
I think it's fine.
Yeah, right. It is. Yeah, it's plural.
And then another thing we could drop is the get here.
Yeah.
I think people understand that if you buy something, you get something. So I think we don't have to make it. It doesn't say get project management, get release control. So all the gets can be dropped. Cool. Anybody else want to say something to make the not page to make the? I think that's the only break we have, right? This one here, and this can be 2 lines.
I'm curious too, in the future, we could do a quick A/B test that just removes all the bullet points. Like I'm curious, you know, free is very powerful on its own. You don't really have to convince me too much when you tell me it's free. So that could be a next MVC.
Yeah, I'm not against running such a test, but let's get to a kind of a base page.
Sounds good. So if we get those done, Sid, for iteration 2, you're feeling good?
I think the buttons were fixed. I think if we're talking really minute things, the no credit card required, with credit card required, it's a lot of noise.
This is the iteration 2 doc again being shared.
Oh shit, sorry.
No problem. Oh, up there, yeah.
This is a lot of visual noise. No credit card required, but really credit card required. So the biggest problem is that I see this, I click that, and then here's a question I didn't really have. Right, I was just trying to get the free plan.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even know what pipeline minutes are at this point. I was just looking at this free plan. So I think we're overdoing it by having the disclaimer here.
And you're also linking to it on the bottom bullet.
Yeah, we're already linking to it. I think it's fine. I don't think people are gonna ding us if we remove it here, because I think here it's pretty confusing.
Yeah.
And in fact, like, hey, yeah. And then we can run Michael, your no bullet test later, where you remove this and all these. That makes sense.
Yeah, I like that. A super pared down version.
Yep. And remember, we did add a stewardship promise that will make our free tier easily discoverable. But I think even if you remove those bullets, I think that's still the case. So I think
Agreed.
that's within the realm. Then we have the customers.gitlab.com/plans, which is now like a completely separate pricing page. I put that on the agenda of eGroup to get that resolved, because it seemed that it's not clear to me who can do that on short notice.
That's on, Sid, that's on fulfillment. You're talking about getting rid of.
Yeah, but fulfillment doesn't have time, so now
Yeah.
we need to find another solution.
The nuance there, just for context, is that the homepage of customers right now is that page. So we need the homepage to be like the sign-in page, and then we can do the redirect. I think that's the best solution, but we might need some help from someone who's willing to contribute. We can review MRs, but otherwise we won't get to it for a couple milestones.
When I'm signed in, I go to plans, right?
Yeah, so that's the easy one to fix. If you're signed in, then we just land.
Well, let's fix that first then. Let's do the easy one first.
Yeah, so maybe that's the first iteration. We just redirect if you're signed in, and then if you're signed out, we have to leave it alone until we can get some engineering work scheduled.
Yep.
Okay, I'll break up that issue then. Thanks for the feedback.
Thanks.
And if you break it up that way, Justin, is your team able to handle it, or do we still need another team to take on the development?
Let me break it up and let me get an engineer to look at it. As far as I know, and my technical knowledge is limited, that applying the redirect once we know the login is fairly trivial. The engineering work that's needed is what do you do on a homepage when the user's not signed in? The homepage of customers. Right now it's the plans page. If we just put the redirect in, we'll create like a recursive redirect where you just keep going back to the marketing site. And obviously we don't want that to happen. So that's the engineering work that needs to happen, is rethink the homepage for customers. If you're signed in, let's just drop you on the appropriate checkout page.
We have 3 minutes. I think we've made it through the majority of the list here. There's point 4 from Scott and Keith, and then there was a comment, Sid, that you had from Slack about pulling in survey points. And I see you're adding some stuff too. So how do we want to use this last few minutes most effectively?
Up to Sid. I can run through number 4 next time, but perhaps really quickly, I'll share my screen and show you what we've done so you can review it async. So we're going through all the themes with product leaders and Keith and myself, and we're continuing to come up with ideas for refining all this stuff. So there's a new tab, it's Themes to SKU V2, where we incorporated some feedback for things like proposed name changes for a handful of themes, faster code reviews being one of them.
Right.
Some of these are X'd out, which means we propose removing them for different reasons, which you can see in the comments. And then these ones in bold were moved to a theme from elsewhere. And so this is the new steady state for what we propose around themes. But in the interest of time, there's quite a few different changes. You can check them out when you get time. Oh, I wasn't sharing. Was I sharing? No, I wasn't sharing. Sorry.
No, I was following along.
All right. So here.
These look great. It's kind of related to my point 5 then, Sid, of the idea of that you'd put forward about automatically pulling in the points from the survey. I wanted to just get clarity. That's the survey that Farnoosh leads, correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. We have 1 minute, but Sid, would you be able to just describe how you envision that working from the collection of the survey points to getting them on the pricing page themes? I can see it in my head. I just want to make sure it's the same thing that you're seeing.
Yeah, at some point, some of these pluses that we click. Oh, well, the simplest first step is you now click a plus, you get a list. Instead of sorting this list randomly, sort it by the number of survey points that they have so that the most important ones are first. I can imagine all kinds of other things we can do, but let's do that as the first step.
Okay, that's great. That's all we need for now. But the parent, the thing that you click, we'll still manually order so that we have control over how we want to present it.
No, I would sort both the pluses and the uncollapsed. So I would sort this based on that, and I would sort this based on it.
Okay, cool. I love it. It's a great idea.
Cool. So recapping, I put it under 7. We'll change DevOps Essentials to features, hoping that it will be 2 lines. We'll remove the free forever features bullet. We'll remove get before each of the CI minutes. We'll change 3 static websites to static websites. We'll remove the duplicate FAQ. We'll redirect /plans to the pricing page. We'll remove the bracket 1 after no credit card required, but keep it for the 400 CI minutes. We'll consider changing the anticipated success to 0%, and we'll sort on survey points for both lists.
Sounds great. I think just in terms of setting expectations, that the sorting will let us take that away and figure out when that fits into our sprint cycles. But the rest of it looks great to me.
And the rest of it will be live when, do you anticipate?
I'll have to get back to you on that.
Okay.
We
let
need
me
to
know
figure
in
out how
the
long we're going to
CR
run this current test for. If we make any changes, then we just got to move some things around.
Yeah, I think you can even consider changing them to the test. I saw someone already updated the buttons. I think that
Oh yeah,
was
yeah.
like-
The trivial ones we'll just do immediately.
I would say all of these are trivial, maybe except for /plans, but that's not even happening on this site. So
Yeah. Okay.
up
Great.
to you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, y'all.